Prime time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Our Connor Chan chatted with Corrine Kelly-Hyde, the president of the Lloydminster Chamber of Commerce.
I'm joined with Corrine Kelly-Hyde, the president of the Lloydminster Chamber of Commerce. She joins me today. Corrine, first off, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with how the Chamber of Commerce has reacted to, I guess, take it back to the beginning a bit about how you guys as an organization had to handle the fact that the whole kind of country was kind of on shutdown for local businesses. And of course they had to be closed as well. I guess just what were some initial reactions from your guys' perspective?
Well, like many other businesses within our community, we had to put on hold of a lot of our events that we were planning to host throughout 2020. And that is a significant chunk of our revenue, obviously. And so we had to go virtual like every other association and, really pivot towards looking after our business members during this COVID-19 global pandemic.
What was some of the reaction you heard from businesses across the city? I know a lot of businesses that we've talked to in the past, and when they were shut down, a lot of them were worried and fearful. What were some of that initial reaction that you heard?
I think it was a lot of fear of the unknown, fear of how big of impact is this going to have on each of our member businesses. A lot of them were looking for transparency from the government and looking at those pieces that they need to sustain their business. And so the chamber, I did some advocacy around that. We sent a letter to Premier Scott Moe in the province of Saskatchewan requesting for transparency and being clear about the reopen plans. We established a page on our website called COVID-19, and that has significant resources for our business community in regards to some of those job aids that are available, some of those business aids, a lot of the information regarding the reopen plans for the provinces and some of those business needs. So it's a daily update on that site, making sure that we're staying in response to what our businesses needs. In addition, we are reaching out to all of our chamber members at present, seeing if there's anything we can do in terms of advocating or providing resources.
You mentioned the resources on that website. How crucial was it for the chamber to making sure we do stay up to date and knowing what the plan is kind of going forward, as it is kind of a day-by-day process?
Well, I think it's very crucial because we can get inundated by a lot of resources available out there. And so making sure that they have a one-stop shop for anything pertaining to particularly Lloydminster and the aids that are available to them. And so we compile all of that wherever the sources may come, federally or provincially, and then we make sure that it's available on one site.
Now, as businesses are kind of slowly starting to reopen with the phase 3 plan about to take place in a week here rather, what's some of the reaction for the businesses that are currently open right now as part of that phase 2 plan that you've heard?
Well, I think most of the businesses are looking forward to getting back to a new normal as long as they have the safety precautions in place and they know that they can properly service their members in this global pandemic. I think a lot of them were excited to have that opportunity to reopen and be part of the economy again, hire their people that they may have lost or temporarily laid off. And it's good for our community and it's good for our businesses. And we look forward to the phases to continue to remain open as long as we continue to do our job regarding social distancing and some of those other measures that are in place.
How important is it for the Lloydminster Chamber of Commerce to play a role in the business community as things are kind of slowly starting to get back to normal?
It's an important role the Chamber has for representing our businesses and fighting for the rights of employers. A collective voice is stronger, whether it's local taxation policies or the availability of meaningful financial supports in a global pandemic. We do advocate for the health of our business community. And so small business is the backbone of our economy, and the Chamber is working diligently behind the scenes to preserve that. And so it is important that the Chamber be advocating for our membership and that we are allowed to be that voice of our community. And so more now than ever, we're trying to do that work for our members.
Well, Corinne, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with me today. I was sharing all the information that you guys have to offer to the community and to all business owners of how you guys are handling the COVID-19 pandemic. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
We are here for the COVID-19 update within the City of Lloydminster. Today is Thursday, May 28, 2020. We have a few questions submitted from Primetime Local News. And first question, what is the city's reaction to the target date of June 8 being set for Phase 3 of the Reopen Saskatchewan plan?
The city is happy to hear of Saskatchewan's plan to move forward with Phase 3 on June 8th. This is good news for the business community and being able to open safely to our community.
Next question, just a recap of what services will be able to open in Phase 3.
The services able to open in Phase 3 with restrictions will include restaurants and licensed establishments available at 50% capacity and additional guidelines. Places of worship under guidelines will be able to open in Phase 3. The remaining personal service businesses that were previously closed will be able to open, things like estheticians, tattoo artists, makeup applications, manicurists, and pedicurists. We'll also see an increase in the size of public and private gatherings. Indoor will be allowed to have 15-person gatherings, and outdoor 30-person gatherings, while still minding the 2-meter spacing.
And third question, warmer weather's here to stay. Has there been an increase in social distancing violations?
The RCMP have received a small number of complaints coming in over the last month. We are hopeful that the community remains diligent on spacing and not having large gatherings. The Lloydminster RCMP continues to work with the community to ensure the community's safety during these challenging times.
Our Stacey Comer chatted with Canadian singer-songwriter Lucas Rossi on his virtual concert.
I'm happy to be joined today by Lucas Rossi. Lucas, I know you don't live in Canada right now, but you're from Canada, and we want to talk a little bit about what you're up to now, because there's so many things happening with this pandemic. But you are basing out of Nashville right now, is that correct?
Yes.
And
yep.
Is that a permanent home for you for now, or is there plans to move?
Oh no, this is a permanent. I love Nashville. It's a great place for music and very professional, and also it's wonderful for like family. You know, a family. My son goes to school, a great school, and his friends and all the above. It's just a wonderful place.
Now you have a couple of shows coming up this week, Friday and Saturday, and because musicians in particular are having to do things a lot differently now, tell me about the shows and how people pay. You have kind of a unique system for what people can afford to pay for your concerts.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. You know, the world's changed a lot, as you know, and this pandemic has really shook everybody. But I think there is a positive about it all. You know, being home with my wife and son more, that interaction is brought us closer together, and I think a lot of people can attest to that. It's kind of like we're forced to really love each other. You know what I mean? So it's really cool in that respect. But yeah, these concerts I hold on stageit.com, and it's a new way to interact with people and play your music. It's, you know, there's no more going to clubs and venues and what have you. It's really cool. I've met people I probably never would have met in my life if I were just doing the regular touring thing, you know. And stage, it's great. I know it's hard times right now, so I do pay what you can. You know, if you pay a penny, you're good to go. You know, I think it's great to have that communion with people and the people out there who can't leave their house. And it's just a wonderful thing. I'm really honored. It's been sold out the last 2 shows, so I'm doing them every Friday and Saturday, so I got some rehearsing to do. You know, it's coming up. But yeah, it's wonderful.
So
To
how
say the
do
least.
people, Lucas, find the link to get onto these shows and to get their tickets ahead of time?
You can go on to my Facebook, Lucas Rossi official, and there'll be a link. I always send out updates and keep everybody abreast of the situation and when it's coming. There's like a countdown. It tells you, 8 hours or 2 days to the show. So I'm getting better at the social media thing, and it's also a bonus. I get to brush up on my not so shiny parts when it comes to social media. That's something my team does very, very well, and I'm getting better.
So what kind of, is there a theme do you have, Lucas, for your concerts? Or do you just kind of decide the day of, this is going to be the playlist? Or how does it work for the shows?
I actually give the fans what they want. Some nights are my first band, Cleavage, which was years and years and years ago, and then the other night will be Rise Electric, another band I formed shortly after that, so on and so forth. Supernova. I did a cover night the other night, which was so fun because the fans get to choose what they want, and it's kind of like I'm like a living playlist.
Well, Lucas, you were here in Lloydminster. I think it was 2007 when we had a chance to chat with you, and it was after the Rockstar Supernova concert, our reality show had happened, and Into the Stars down phase a little bit. People really got to know you through the Supernova show. Did that really change things for you 100% totally with everything? And do you still remain in contact with, Gilby and Tommy Lee and Jason Newstead from the show?
Absolutely. It changed my entire life. I would not have met my wife. I wouldn't have my son. I wouldn't be speaking to you. You know what I mean? So I feel like ultimately blessed. Every day of my life, I'll never forget. It was the best experience I've ever gone through. Yeah, it's just awesome.
So what happens for you now, Lucas? Things have changed so much for all musicians because of the pandemic. I mean, I don't know when we'll be able to see an actual live show again. I know you're doing the online concerts, but are you involved in, some writing and producing and other thing like that behind the scenes until we can get back to doing some of the live shows?
Tons. I've been producing a lot of country acts, a lot of artists from other bands. I've worked with, members of 3 Days Grace, In Sync, 98 Degrees. It's really cool. I get to hone in on another aspect of my profession, which is not just, performing. I get to actually do the behind the scenes stuff, which is so intricate and interesting. I remember way back in the day when I first started singing, I was like, oh, that's just too blow my head off. You know what I mean? That's for those guys, and I'll do this guy. But yeah, it's really, really cool. I've found kind of a new niche, and they all kind of are symbiotic. They all work. So.
Well, Lucas, I want to thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate catching up with you. And once again, Friday and Saturday, your shows via Stage It, and people go to your Facebook page, I guess, is the best place to get the information on how to purchase the tickets?
Yes, or your Instagram. It's on all of them. It'll say it somewhere. Thank you so much for having me. And if I could say anything to anybody out there listening or watching, just be good to one another. Take care of your neighbor. Even strangers become real close as long as you spend the time. And it's a new world, so just love one another, be safe. Wash your hands.
Well, thank you so much, Lucas. We do appreciate it. And we'll hope to catch up with you again once things have changed a little bit, hopefully within the music industry. And however they change one way or the other, it'd be great to chat with you again in the future and see what you're up to.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, and God bless you.
I'm joined here with Paul LaBerge, and he is the founder of Let's Walk the Talk. First, what is some background into what Let's Walk the Talk is for those who may not know?
It all started up when I lost my father to suicide. And then after that, I just kind of wanted, because the one thing, I guess in general, my dad struggled to open up and tell his story. And also I struggled too with mental health, to open up with my story. So I guess overall, when I first started this, Let's Walk the Talk, it was basically sharing your story and walking to raise awareness. I came up with this idea, believe it or not, right after my dad's funeral. I just said, enough's enough. I don't want another family to go through what I went through, and there has to be something, something needs to be done.
Can you explain Let's Walk the Talk's involvement with the sexual assault services here in Lloydminster?
It goes back with my dad. My dad was sexually abused growing up. He got sexually abused at Sunday school. That was one of the things we did not know, that happened with my dad. When I first found out with my dad, I was about 25 years old when he told me. He always told me he wanted to help out with the sexual assault center here in Lloyd. He wanted, either raise money, put a bunch of toys, on the shelves, and just to help the children that went through it. And unfortunately, because my dad took his life in August in 2018, we weren't able to do that, or he wasn't able to do that. So that's what the walk was done. That's what I thought I would do. They decided to call it Project Little Bear, and I said that's totally fine with me. And and before you know it, we filled their shelves, and I want to fill the shelves even more. I want them to have a good problem. I want them to have, the problem where they don't know where to put all the toys. That's what the goal is.
Now, this month is Sexual Violence Awareness Month, and even though May is almost over, can you explain the significance of what this month is?
Oh, it's the awareness. It really is. There's so many people out there after I shared my story, and even my dad's story. There's so many people out there that have dealt with being sexually abused and the fear of coming out. We all know the famous hockey player, Theo Fleury. It's been years it took him to come out. It took my dad years. It took him, he was about 48 at the time when he came out and told the story. So I think the most important thing about this is don't judge people. You should always just be kind, because you never know what people are going through. That's the biggest thing with this month. Since the day I open up, the one thing I learned is it costs nothing to be kind, but one comment can really ruin someone's life. So it's just that important is to be kind, because you never know what someone's going through. And if someone does open up to you, just listen. And even if you don't know what to say, I know we are dealing with COVID, but I would say hug them. But now we're dealing with COVID. I'm not sure what the answer is. Maybe just kind of give them some elbow rub, love. But yeah, just be near. That's the biggest thing you can do, is just support it and listen.
Now, with the pandemic, has this had a big impact on what your plan with the walk is?
To be honest, that's a head scratcher. I was trying to, I tried to make the announcement to my group members that we might have to do something else, like, me jumping on the treadmill and maybe set up some other treadmills like 6 feet apart, and, videotape myself going live on Facebook. And we had a split, to be honest with you. 50% of the group totally understood. The other 50 were kind of disappointed. They want to still go to the highway. So then I decided to send an email off to Sask Highways. I said, look, we still want to do this walk. I don't want, just because of this. Yeah, I understand people are really upset, but I still feel this walk is needed. Now with this, pandemic going on, and now I might not be able to do this walk, I'm not going to lie, it really is a tough thing to accept. I'm not going to go down, and just quit. I'm going to keep swinging and keep trying to, make this walk happen.
Well, thank you so much, Paul.
Yes. No, thank you, Jasmine. I really appreciate this.
joined today by Kelly Smith Frazier of Alberta Beef Producers. Kelly, thank you for your time here today. And now we've seen plants like JBS Brooks and Cargill High River start to open back up again. So can you just talk on the importance of these plants opening up for the beef industry?
Sure. So Cargill has just recently announced that they're back at 75% of pre-COVID capacity. JBS has just hit over 50% of pre-COVID capacity. And it's incredibly important for our industry to have those plants back, in Cargill's instance, running back on stream, and JBS increasing their capacity, seeing as they never actually had to shut down. But our industry relies on them so heavily that right now we're looking at a backlog of finished cattle ready to be processed. And right now those cattle don't have a spot to go. But as soon as we can get those plants getting even closer to capacity, we can start getting through that backlog and able to move those cattle that are finished out of the lots and able to free up some pen space for the calves coming in this fall. That, right now for cow-calf producers, we're just finishing up our calving season. And so those calves are going to stay on the cows until fall. But come fall, we're going to be weaning the calves, pulling them off the cows, selling them or putting them into feedlots. And we're going to need that pen space. But the only way to have pens open for these calves is by being able to move these finished animals out and through the food supply chain. So we really need them to be operating as close to capacity.
Now you do bring up that backlog, and from what you're saying, it's really not just an issue right now. It could also be an issue here 5-6 months down the road even.
It sure is. That the sooner we can get through this backlog, the better the industry is going to be looking going into the fall. That we really need to get those animals that are ready to be processed through, so that come this fall, those feedlots have the opportunity to have a turnover. They're able to be ready and move these fresh weaned calves in.
Now, obviously, COVID has hit industry pretty hard, and the ag sector is no exception. You guys have received some funding from the government, but is there any other aid you guys are looking for currently?
We're in the works of developing a fed cattle set-aside program, and that's something that we really lobbied for federally and provincially. So we're trying to get those producers with finished cattle ready. We're trying to ensure that they have the cash flow to be able to come into the fall, have the amount of feed that they need to fill their feedlots, and be able to turn over that pen space. We knew what we are asking now are we have other asks which have to do with our business risk management programs, agri-stability, and changing the reference limits on those. But right now our number one ask is support for our backgrounders, so the guys that feed them from calves before they go into the finishing lot, and for our cow-calf producers, so our primary producer. We're looking at a really volatile market. There is so much uncertainty. We don't know what the market is going to look like come this fall, and especially if we see a second wave and the plants shutting down again. We really don't know what the market looks like. And all of our indicators before COVID were great, that we'd have a super strong market. But right now, just like everybody else, we are in a time of uncertainty. And so what we're doing is we have a price insurance program here in Alberta, and then as well as in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And what we're able to do is we're able to insure our calves to be worth a minimum amount. So we know we pay a premium, and we can lock in that our calves will be worth a set value. And now those calves, if those calves sell for more, say, I'm going to use my own example. So my insurance, I insured my calves to weigh 550 pounds and for those calves to be worth $2 a pound. So they're going to be worth $1,100 each. So I know at least I'm going to be receiving minimum $1,100 for those calves. But I also, if the market rebounds, I'm still going to be able to say the calves sell for $1,400. I still get that $1,400. I just know that my very minimum. But what the problem is my insurance rate for those to insure those calves. Last year I paid $3 a calf for the same insurance that I bought this year. I paid right around $40 for that calf this year. So, things are more than 10 times what they were last year. So our producers are really struggling with being able to afford the premiums. Honestly, a person can't afford to not insure them, but it's really hard to afford to pay that premium when, I would budget for $3 to $10 cap premiums, and then to have had that amount skyrocket by more than 10 times. It's really difficult to be able to budget for something like that.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much for your time here today.
This Ag Report is brought to you by the Lloydminster Co-op Agro Centre. Depend on them for product, tools, and expert advice. Shop at your local Lloyd Co-op Agro Centre with branch locations in Lashburn and Neilburg.